He wasn't born into greatness. He was just an ordinary boy from a small village. His father was a farmer, his mother a trader. Every Sunday, they would walk miles to attend a tiny church made of wood and rusted zinc. That's where he first heard the voice of God, not in thunder, but in silence. He was 17 when he first preached. His voice trembled, his hands shook. But people wept that day, not because he was eloquent, but because the Spirit was real. He would go on to spend nights praying in the bush, asking God for revival. Lord, if you can use anyone, use me. And somehow God did. He began to travel. Villages opened their doors. Sick people were healed. Addicts wept in repentance. His name spread, and so did the fire. By 27, he had founded a church. By 30, he was on television. By 35, people called him God's general. He was faithful at first. Every miracle felt like heaven's applause. Every testimony confirmed his purpose. But fame is a quiet poison. It doesn't come all at once. It seeps in slowly. One day, he arrived late to crusade. A crowd of 10,000 had been waiting for hours. As he stepped out of his car, cameras flashed, people screamed his name, and for a brief moment, he liked it. That moment was all it took. He started to measure his worth by the size of his crowd. Prayer became shorter, strategy became longer. Sermons shifted from "Come to Jesus" to "You are destined for greatness." The cross, once his message, became a footnote. He built a mansion, bought luxury cars. His staff grew, his smile shrank. He was surrounded by people, but alone inside. Everyone wanted a miracle. No one cared for his soul. His wife noticed a change first. She would say, "You used to pray with me before every service." He would reply, "I'm busy." Then came the invitations, conferences abroad, private jets, honorariums. Every success felt like approval from heaven, but inside his altar was cold. One Sunday, after a grand service, he returned to his office and sat alone. The applause still echoed from the hall, but he felt nothing. He looked at his reflection in the mirror and whispered, "Where is the fire?" He couldn't find it. Then came the storm. Rumors started, accusations, financial mismanagement. A close associate betrayed him. The media had a field day. Overnight, the man of God became a headline. Members left. Partners withdrew. The church doors stayed open, but the pews emptied. He stood before the congregation one Sunday. Thousands reduced to dozens, and tried to preach. His mouth opened, but his heart was silent. He broke down mid-sermon and walked off stage. That day marked the end of his ministry. He disappeared from public life. The world moved on, but in his small rented apartment, he sat alone for months. Curtains closed, Bible unopened, phone switched off. He replayed his old sermons on YouTube, the young version of himself crying, "Return to your first love." And he wept. Guilt came like waves, memories of people he hurt, lies he told, pride he justified. He tried to pray, but couldn't. He felt unworthy, forgotten. One rainy night, he took a walk. No destination, just pain. He ended up at a small roadside chapel. No lights, no cameras, just a few people praying softly. He sat at the back. The preacher that night said, "God doesn't just use the perfect. He uses the broken." Tears fell down his face. For the first time in years, he whispered, "Lord, I'm sorry." And heaven heard. He didn't return to the stage. He didn't start another megachurch. He just went back to serving quietly, visiting hospitals, feeding the poor, teaching young ministers what he wished someone had taught him. He often said, "The fall wasn't my punishment. It was my wake-up call." 5 years later, a small group of pastors invited him to speak at a retreat. When he walked to the podium, there were no bright lights, no applause, just respect. He spoke softly. "Once, I was known everywhere, but I lost myself. I lost the cross. And when I lost the cross, I lost Christ. But grace found me." The room was silent. Some cried. Others bowed their heads. And that night, revival started again, not in crowds, but in hearts. He lived the rest of his days quietly. No cameras, No fame, just faith. People would still recognize him sometimes, the once famous preacher, but he would smile and say, "No, I'm just a forgiven man." Before he died, he wrote one final note in his Bible: "I built a ministry and lost my soul, but Jesus rebuilt me and gave me back my peace." They found him one morning, kneeling beside his bed. His Bible was open to Philippians 3 verse 8. "I count all things lost for the excellence of knowing Christ." He was gone, but in the quietness of that room, his story spoke louder than any sermon he ever preached, because in the end, he forgot the cross once. But the cross never forgot him.